where they have their fences never go near the gate unless you have two people, and especially at night, and make sure both of you are carrying a weapon, a gun. And I said, nobody's ever told me this. This doesn't come out in the fake news, and this doesn't come out in the press. And these people had no idea they were going to do this, but I said, you know what? We have the media here. We have some very good people in the media here, actually. And I think it should be explained. Nobody's ever heard this. I don't think they've ever heard this. And maybe I'll start with Gene. Maybe, Gene, can you start? And we'll go through. But these are incredible stories. I had no idea. Nobody has any idea how bad this is. And this has been going on for many years. Many, many years. But now they're coming up because the economy is so strong. But regardless, this has been going on. And many people are dying. And the danger of living here, unless you know exactly what you're doing, is tremendous. Where your wife carries a gun and she's trained in using it. But maybe you start off, Gene.
Well, we were telling the president earlier today that in South Texas, from here to the border, we have millions of square miles of open brush country, and that the coyotes pick these people up at the river. They'll bring them 50, 60 miles into the U.S. and then give them a gallon of water and a little something to eat and say, Houston's right here, or Dallas is right there, and that you need to walk this direction. And as you look at the press in Texas about South Texas, and we have numerous people dying on these ranches, and people have been finding their bodies for a number of years. Brooks County, down around Falfurrias, is one of the most prominent areas where they're found because they drop them off and tell them that Houston's just over the horizon. And so not only do we have a crisis on the border, a humanitarian crisis and a security crisis, we also have these people preying on the people that are trying to come here. And they have no idea geographically where they are, where they're located. They have a gallon of water, a little money, and maybe a sandwich, and they start to walk. And when it's hot and they're in the sandy country, they very often die. And these ranchers and a lot of the people here will tell you that they very often are finding bodies on the ranch. So this is not just security. It's not just us worrying about our property. It's worrying about the people who are actually trying to come here to better themselves or being preyed on also. The other thing I told the president that many of us have homes on the ranches, and the Border Patrol, the Department of Public Safety, all, when we run into them on the highway, warn us, and we often have coyotes running their trucks through our fences as they're being chased by the Border Patrol, and they'll run into the ranch, and then everybody in the trunk will bail out and hide in the brush. And so we're living in several thousand acres and nobody around. The nearest law enforcement may be 10, 15 miles away. And when they can't find the illegals that are in the brush, they leave. Law enforcement leaves, and we're left there by ourselves, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing if they're going to come up to the house, not knowing if they're armed, not knowing. We've, in the middle of the night, when we've had this happen before, we've gotten up at 2 in the morning and packed up our car and driven back to San Antonio because we just did not feel safe. And I know that we're not the only family that feels that way and is being imposed upon. And this has been going on for a number of years. And there are a number, I'd like to turn it over to some other people here behind me that have got stories. Those Gates, you might lead off with your story about your pumper.
Well, we've got a ranch north of Laredo, and there's a lot of oil field activity going on. There's certain gates that they use to come in, so they're very heavily trafficked. And these MS-13 people and other gang-affiliated people come across and know these roads exist, and they sit by the gates. And instead of roughing the guy up to take his truck when he's coming out there to open the gate to gauge the well or do whatever he's doing, they've killed him. And so there's, dead people out there that are just doing their job.
Often.
Out there, oil field workers. And we've seen that down in our area.
Often. And
Yep.
Again, they all want the wall. If we had the wall, the good people will not be able, and you'll see them on the other side of the wall. And people can, number one, they won't come because they'll say there's no way of getting through. Right now they think there's a way of getting through. And their people back home never hear about them. They start the walk that they think Houston's, half a mile away, but it's 300 miles. And it's desert. And I asked Mr. Powell, I said, let me ask you a question. When you do this, why aren't people around to help these people? He said, this is a vast state. It's a vast area. If you look at it, I mean, the state's tremendous. We don't see that. I come from New York, you have Fifth Avenue, and that connects to Park Avenue, and it's not too far away. But this is, hundreds of miles between places. And it's just, I've heard some incredible stories. Does anyone want to go? You had told me something very interesting. Go ahead, please.
Less than 30 days ago, I had 6 people show up on my front porch of my house, all dressed in black, at 5:30 in the afternoon. So, just scary thought, not knowing what those people are going to do to you or what they're going to say, and like you said, Mr. President, you don't want to go to the door, you don't want to answer it for sure. So it's just always make sure your gun's around and hope that they don't try to do anything to you. It's just a real scary feeling.
And they're very expensive fences, but they don't want to go through the process of going through the fences. So again, they wait until the fence is open, the gate is open, they wait at the gates, and they kill people. And they want to take the truck. A lot of times they don't even want to go to the house, they want to steal the truck. So you always go to the gate in doubles. This has been going on for many years, and it's coming out. I'm bringing it out because we're bringing out what's happening with our border. And these people are coming into our country. Some are dying during the walk. Many of those people, I'll bet, are very good people. But some are dying during the walk. Many are dying. That was what surprised me. I said, well, how many? And one of the folks said, well, we had 7 in the last fairly short period of time. 7. I said, 7? That's one person. He said, no, they're all over the part of Texas that we're talking about. That means they're all over other places too, including New Mexico, California. Please.
This is out west in Sonora, Texas, and we're 120 miles from the nearest border. Right. And remember, they don't come through the port of entry. The bad guys come through other places.
And I've been saying that from day one because it's common sense.
They're not coming through the port of entry to see it. And the other thing is the demographics change. It's not about 3% of it's actually Mexicans from Mexico. They're Central American.
You said 3%.
3% are Mexican. The others are coming from Central America, South Central America, and coming through. And they look different, and they're dressed in black, backpacks, got hoodies on. They're not good guys. It's a different deal than years ago. You put out some food, mi casa, su casa. They come in, they get the food, they leave. You know they've been there that day. That's different than it was years ago. Born in McAllen, lived all over Texas. I can tell you that it's different than it used to be.
So you're saying that the people from, you said before, Colombia, and also from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, are much tougher people and much more dangerous people?
Well, they're only sending the rough ones that are carrying the drugs and the different things.
See, that's it.
You got to follow the money.
By the way,
right?
remember this. Those countries are sending the tough ones. They're sending the gang members. Those are the people they're sending to the United States. And the Democrats don't want to do anything about it. I'm doing something about it. The Democrats don't want to do, but he just said it. And Mr. Powell and all of you, we've talked about it. People from Mexico, they come in, they help with the farming, they go out, no problem. But they were saying that the people coming from much further away, they're sending real killers, including MS-13, because they don't want them in Honduras and El Salvador and Guatemala. They don't want the gangs. So they're sending them to our country, and they probably aren't the ones that run out of water and run out of food, right?
No.
Dan, do you have something to say, Lieutenant?
Let me tell you, we can document well over 1,000 dead bodies over the last 5 to 6 to 7 years. That's the ones that we find. You go to Brooks County, you want to do a good story? Go down to Brooks County. They have the photographs of children pregnant women, older people, the people who are at risk. You leave them out in the middle of nowhere when it's 100 degrees with a half a gallon of water, you die. They don't care about these people. And the Democrats never talk about the humanitarian crisis, not just on our side of the border protecting our citizens, but these poor people who are subjugated to these gangsters, these cartels, who are bringing these people here, charging them thousands of dollars and leaving them to die. Leaving them to die. They know they're going to die. Taking advantage of the most vulnerable. Where are the people in Washington to stand up for these children, these women, these senior citizens? Where are they? Bring them down. Mr. President, let the Democrats come down to Brooks County. Let them come to any of these ranches. Let them see these bodies. Let them see the skeletons. We have the photographs. Call my office. We'll get them to you.
One of the folks back here was saying that, I said, really, how often does that happen? All the time. How many have you seen? 11, over what period of time? Over a short period of time, 11 bodies. And if it's not the bodies, they're attacked, they're accosted, and very importantly, these people come into our country long beyond Texas. I mean, they go into our states that have nothing to do, you would think, with the border, but they go into deeper the better. And it is really a disgrace, and nobody talks about it. You don't have anybody talking about it. And I even said, even my Republican colleagues, and they're with us all the way, but they don't hear these stories. I never heard this story. This was not a scheduled news conference. You people are here. This was not scheduled, as you know. I said to these people, can you tell the press? Because this is a thing that's been going on for years. I mean, where your wife, if she doesn't carry, she doesn't have a chance. Where you can't go up to a gate and open the gate without a guy standing there with a rifle because people want to steal your truck, and they'll do it and kill you. They'll kill you, take your truck, sometimes go and rob the house. Then who the hell can live like this? And it's not just here and the border. But these are stories that I've never heard before. And I've been doing this stuff very intensely for 2.5 years.
Mr. President, I think it's really important that this group, and I think everybody here would tell you the same thing. All of us have lived a long time in Texas. We are very proud of the multicultural nature of the state. We have it. We're biracial. We have tremendous friends, family members from Mexico, Mexican origins in their health. We all love each other and we get along great. That's not what we're talking about here. People will call us racist for bringing this up. We've been living in a bicultural world for many years and gotten along fine. My grandparents moved to South Texas along the border in 1918. So what we're talking about today, things have changed.
Tell them, please.
It has changed. We're not talking about citizens from Mexico who come here to do agricultural work. I remember having a bracero camp, the bracero program back in the 50s down in the valley. And the workers came across in buses, they did the work during, and the weekends they went back. Everyone got along and we had a great relationship. Things have changed. This is the Central Americans and the cartels. The cartels, the smuggling of people, the moving of people. We had right here in San Antonio, within the last year, we had a truckload of people die in a Walmart parking lot where the refrigeration unit went out and they died. And this is happening all the time. They're moving people, 50, 60 people packed into a reefer truck to take them north. And people also die in those trucks.
But you're also saying that the people coming up from areas that you know didn't used to have a long time ago, but you have over the last, let's say, 10 years, you're saying the level of toughness is much different than it used to be.
Yes.
They were saying that you have to hear some of these stories. And again, I said, look, anybody want to not? Everybody said they'll agree to go and do this. I thought you'd have some that would say, I don't want to get involved. But the stories are incredible about the level of toughness. The gangs, the craziness, they're crazy. And they're coming in. And those countries are sending them up. I have no doubt that Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador and Colombia with its new president, but unfortunately their drug business has gone up 50% since he's been there. Those countries are sending them because they don't want them in their country. They're sending them to the United States because they think that the people of the United States are stupid, and they take them. And we're represented by Democrats that don't want to hear it because to them, they'll take anybody. They don't care about crime. They just want to get votes. They think these are all going to be votes for them someday. And other reasons. Maybe they want to make the country look bad. But let me tell you, we have a problem, and you people expressed it far better than anybody I've heard. I can't believe it. How many did you find last month? Well, 7 died on their ranch, on one ranch. 7. I said, what are you talking about 7? They start walking, and it is the expanse. That's the thing. Nobody knows the expanse. Nobody knows what we're talking about because it's so big. This state and this whole area, the border is big. Talking about 2,000 miles. And these people start walking, and this scum, the coyotes, the worst scum in the world, the coyotes, and they take their last amount of money, they leave them nothing, and they give them some water and a sandwich. And they start walking, and they have hundreds of miles to walk.
Leave them to die.
They leave them to die, and they're dying all over the place, and nobody knows it.
No one should have to die to come to America. You know, we need legal immigration reform, obviously, but no one should have to die to come to America. And that's what the cartels are driving.
And if
That's
you
what's
had a
happening.
wall on the other side, you had a wall, they wouldn't be able to get through. And they're easy to, you know, you can take, on a humanitarian basis, you can have food cars, you can have trucks, you can take them to someplace where they can be taken care of. And they won't come. You won't have so many because if they know they can't get through, they're not going to come. All of a sudden, they're not going to come. And we're building a lot of wall. You know, the other day I saw the fake news. They were saying I didn't build wall. You know why? Because they said, I ripped down a wall because I just left with them, a lot of these people. We ripped down a wall that was dead. It was useless. We ripped, and we built a new one. They said that wall was already there. We built a brand new wall. We showed it to them. And some of them, because it's a dishonest deal, some of them said we didn't build a wall. Why didn't we build a wall? Because there was a wall already there. But what they don't say is that we ripped it down because it was worthless. It was garbage. And people walk right through it. So we built an incredible new wall. It was even my design. My design, our contractors, they just left. The tractor marks are right there. The machinery is still there. And these people left. They said, we didn't build a wall. The wall was already there. You're dishonest people, many of you, and many of you aren't. This is a very important story. People are dying. Great people are dying. Bad people are coming up. You have both. You have the gang members that are being thrown out by these countries because they don't want them, and they figure, let the United States handle it. We're not going to do it. And then we have judges, in the Ninth Circuit in particular, but we have judges that will rule against us no matter what. 2 days ago, we had a judge ruled against us because he said he doesn't want people staying in Mexico. Mexico's too dangerous. Let them come in here. This is crazy. It's crazy. So I thought that even though this was not a planned news conference, I thought this was so important to say, where you have people dying all over the place. And when you mentioned 1,000, Dan, I think it's much, much more than 1,000.
Just the ones that we've been able to find and count. So
Over the last short while.
many more.
Does anybody else have anything to say? Would you like to say anything?
Well, Lieutenant Governor, you're right. The ones you find are not on the road.
Right.
You have to either find them horseback or the helicopter.
Right.
And so that's when you find them. And there's no telling how many more. It's like doing a deer count. You can't find all the deer.
They're dying in the brush.
Yeah, exactly.
I just know the ones that have been counted. There's a group that goes of citizens, Mr. President, Brooks County, and for years they've been going out trying to document this story. And they get a little bit of coverage every now and then. The media doesn't follow it. And so you're absolutely right. That's just the ones they've counted. Again,
University of Texas at San Antonio has got a group of people who volunteer their time in their anthropology department to go down and document these graves, take dental samples, DNA samples, and try to identify the people who have passed so that they can notify their next of kin, either in Mexico or in South America, And they're doing this out of the goodness of their heart to try to give these families closure. It's horrible that we have to have a group of people that spend their spare time in the brush country of South Texas documenting poor people who have passed away because somebody told them Houston was and America was just over the hill.
So I said, what's the solution? You live here, you know the area so well, but you know the border better than anybody. This isn't the border's a ways away, but you get plenty of action even up here, but the border's down there, but many of them are involved with the border. What is really is the answer? And they said, you gotta have a wall. You gotta have a wall. If you don't have a wall, it's never gonna end. Dangerous people are coming here, and the good people are dying. The good people are dying. And the good people are being robbed and killed by the bad people. They're being killed by gang members because some of them have a little money left. After giving it to the coyotes, they have money left. And the gang members will take the money from the good people and let them die. Or kill them. MS-13 and others. It would be so great if you'd write a straight story and let the world know. I mean, this is a small group of people that are good people. If you could let the world really know what's happening, this is so important. From a humanitarian, not because of Trump, from a humanitarian standpoint, nobody has any idea how bad it has been for many years. So there it is. There's our press conference. Thank you all very much.
Mr. President, are you frustrated by the fact that your staff, the Border Patrol, your immigration folks, haven't told you this in the past? I mean, you said you expressed surprise.
No, because I can understand them not saying it. They've been saying we need a wall. We need a wall badly. They have told me many other things, but they haven't. This is a group of people that I just said, what can I do for you? And they actually started off by saying, sir, many people are dying. I said, what are you talking about?
And also, sir,
Because I'll bet you've been covering this stuff for a long time, too. You haven't heard stories like this. This is an incredible story.
Also, sir, this is a campaign event. Your campaign manager is right there. How well do you think this issue, broadly speaking, raising immigration, raising the border wall, is that important for you as you campaign?
It's funny. I have a lot of people standing out there waiting for me to speak. And it's really a campaign event. And I couldn't care less about the campaign. This is not a campaign. This is now telling people whatever. It's really telling the truth. We have to do something about it. Nobody's ever heard that. Hey, you are reporters. You've covered this scene for many years. The whole thing of the border, we've all been involved in the border. I've been involved probably less time than you have. But I know what's going on. From the time I made my first speech at Trump Tower, when I mentioned the word rape, and everybody went crazy because that turned out to be nothing compared to what happens in those journeys up. Nothing. My speech was so tame, as it turned out. No, this is just something, I'm sitting here, we're talking. I said, what can we do? And one of the folks at this table said, very specifically, many, many people are dying. They're dying all over our fields. They're dying on their fields, all over. Who was the one that said, they'll go out to the field and they'll find bodies all the time? Somebody said it. Who was that? That was you.
All
All of them. All of them. They go out, they find bodies, excuse me, they go over, they find bodies lying all over the field, including many pregnant women. Many pregnant women. They give it a little water, go out and start walking. Walk to Dallas. And Dallas is 250 miles away. It's really bad. You really should cover it right. This has nothing to do with politics. This has nothing to do with campaigning or my campaign. This is totally unexpected that I'd have you in here. But these people said it better than anybody else could say it because they have to live it. And it's dangerous, and it's really from a humane standpoint, humanitarian standpoint, it's horrible. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, are you considering Chris Kobach to be your Homeland Security Secretary?
I have respect for him, but I haven't really thought about that. I'm very happy right now with Kevin. I will say this. I would really rather have you focus on this topic than you could ask me a million questions about a million things that I'd love to answer. But I will say that I think you should really focus on this. This is a very important development that the press has not covered. You don't cover this. You don't cover this. How is it possible that your body's lying all over these big areas and nobody talks about it? And Dan was telling me that press doesn't want to write about it.
No, we've tried to bring this story up time and time again on television, in the print, and one day, and it's a non-story. And to me, it's the biggest story, Mr. President, because when vulnerable people are taken advantage of by the cartels to make a buck, they're sending them to their death.
Make a lot of bucks too.
They're sending them to their death, and they know they're sending them to their death. And it
Mr.
happens over
President,
and
could
over.
you introduce the people who spoke to us today so that we have their names correctly?
I could, if you want. Do you want to do that?
Yes,
We'll
please.
just do it very quickly because we have to go and I have a lot of people waiting.
But we will help you. We'll